Today we're going to talk about a Thousand Sons army for 40k. I'm going to give you a list which I consider to be a fun list. It's not designed to be competitive, and to be honest, it's a list I'll probably never use again, because every time I play I create a brand new list that's slightly different from the last one in order to keep the game fresh and interesting. Now this list I played yesterday, but I actually wrote it last month. And I had two lists which I was going to use. One was an AdMech list, which was fun, and there's this one, and I chose to go with the AdMech list. So this one never got used until yesterday. Now I've actually used it, I'm going to talk about it, because I figured instead of me just talking about competitive play, playing one way and building an army that they can win with, and then just playing the same tactics over and over again with the same army, I'd show you the other side of the coin. I'll show you what a fun player does and why he does it. Now, this Thousand Sons list is 195 points. I'll see if I can fit it in below in the description so you can see it. But I'll also try and put it around here so you can look at it and pause and whatever. Now then, just to be quick, I've tried doing this video before and it went on for about an hour, and I don't want this to go on for an hour. So I'm going to skip a few things and I'll let you view the army lists at your leisure on the screen or down below and see what I've done, and then you can play the video and you can hear what I have to say about it. Now you'll also see how I plan out my lists as well, but to cover it quickly, I start out with the command points. I've got 12 points for a brigade. BattleForged is +3, total 15, right at the very top, so I can see straight away. Trying to organise things into a battalion or a brigade is why this is really done this way, this army list. I could have done it other ways, but for this particular game I wanted to try something different. So there's no Demon Princes in this one, for instance, right? This Thousand Sons army has no Demon Princes in it, although I do have 3 if I wanted to play them. Now, list of stratagems are at the top. Very important to remind yourself which stratagems might be good. There's a couple missing off of there which I should have included, but I caught them during the game and added them. Right, now the Command HQs, I started out with the old Ahriman model, the one on foot, and I've equipped him with Prescience, WarpTime and Infernal gears. Basically he's equipped to support and attack just in case, which is a good job, because yesterday the first card I pulled out was your Warlord must do this objective, and it involved him marching up the board, so he had to go on the attack and he did a good job. Got an Exalted Sorcerer on disc, very important, and a normal Sorcerer which was made from the Exalted Sorcerer kits. Just don't put him on a disc and give him a Force Sword. Then I've got 3 squads of 10 Zangors. Not recommended usually, but I needed the troops. I needed to get 3 more troops for the brigade, so I separated my squad of 30 into 3 squads of 10. So that's how I got the brigade detachment. Did they do well? Yes, they did. I took a lot of casualties though, but I'll talk about that later. But they did do well. Right? We've got 3 squads of Rubik Marines, and well, 5-man squads, all armed Warpflamers. I think going for the 10-man squad to get the Soul Reaper cannon was rather expensive, and 102 points for 5 men is already expensive. However, Thousand Sons must take as many sorcerers as they can to get the smites out. So 5-man squads of Rubiks, perfect. Plus, they're very, very good at surviving, as my mate kept finding out when he kept shooting at them. I was doing all his dust, so it's like 3 save, 1 damage. That knocked it down to 2 because of all his dust roll. So it's a 2+ save. Oh look, they're in cover too. He really loved me by the end of the game. He was saying, "Brian, you're doing really, really well there, aren't you?" Oh yes. He wasn't swearing at me at all, honest. Although, to be honest, he was running a new Ultramarine army, with a new Ultramarine supplement. They did need the upgrade. Admittedly, they did need the upgrade. But what a pain. Some of the cards they've got. Automatically hitting. He put his stratagem down on a Redempted Dreadnought. The bazillion shots automatically hit, and then I think it's Thunderstrike Cannon with a 2+ hit, 2+ hit with 4d4 shots. I mean, Jesus! Decimated me. I had to get in combat with my Zangors with them as quickly as possible. Anyhow, I've got Shaman, I've got a Hellbrute, that's it. I've got Scarab Terminators. Yeah. I've got 3 Chaos Spawns separated into 2 squads again to make up the fast attack, you know, for the Brigade detachment. 6 Enlightened, always a must include these guys, I think. Of Mutalith Vortex Beast. Some people don't like these, but my one does quite well. I call him Fluffy. A Vindicator and a Defiler, both of which did alright, to be honest. The Defiler though needs lots of love and attention, lots of +1s and re-rolling ones just to get anywhere. But if you equip yours like I've equipped mine, you'll do quite well. This guy laid waste to everybody. This one's got, just so you know, this Defiler's got a battle cannon, a havoc launcher, twin laser cannons and a combi melter. And whilst the combi melter never got used, everything else did. The Vindicator and the Defiler did quite a bit of damage together. But there's a reason why you take these things. Now, look at the army list below or around, right? It says pause it, rewind it or whatever, you know, look at the bits again so you understand what I've taken. And now we'll move forward to discussing why I took it. Now, the first thing to understand is this isn't a competitive list. This is what I call a friendly list, a list which is designed to be fun. However, Thousand Sons lack real anti-tank. Right? They win by smiting everything. That's how they do it. And they win by having Rubric Marines which are harder to kill. That's another important thing to understand. And they've got a number of different ways of getting up the board, like the Webway Infiltration and the Dark Crystal. Dark Crystal, I believe, counts as a move. But it's done at the end of the movement phase, so it definitely counts as a move. You know, after that's done, nothing else does it. But that applies to units already on the board. So you could use that, teleport something in, you know, teleport something across the board on turn 1, because it's already on the board. It's not in tactical reserves or anything. So it gives you an advantage, and I find that very useful sometimes. More useful than the rerolls you get from the other. I think it's the Helm of the Third Eye. Yeah. So it's very useful. But let's go back to the beginning. Right. My forces were separated into 3 different types. There was a core main force for holding the ground that had Ahriman, Defiler, Hellbrute, and the Vindicator, plus 3 squads of Rubric Marines holding the centre ground for me, holding my base, my deployment zone. Going ahead, I had a Sorcerer on disc, this is fast attack, a Sorcerer on disc, a Shaman on disc, 6 Zangor Enlightened on discs to flank any direction I liked. Really quick, really fast responding, really good at keeping the pressure on. Turn 2, down comes my Alpha Strike. Now, that's 3 squads of Zangors, 2 coming by Webway Infiltration, 1 coming by Dark Crystal, but I actually implemented that the turn before, so it came on turn 1 and occupied, you know, or took on some of the opponent's stuff that was going to hit me really hard. And then I brought down the Terminators as well. So 3 squads of Zangors and Terminators came on turn 2. Now, the reason for this is I like to have an interesting game. I don't like to be a one-trick pony. You know, where you've got your smash, capture, bounce and all three, and if he's dead, that's it, your whole army crumbles. Or the take out knight, your whole army crumbles. I like to have choices. So you can take out little bits and you'll still be alright, you'll still have fun. Your opponent has to work a lot harder to stop you having fun than he would if you took on a competitive player and destroyed his main line of attack. But remember what I said, Thousand Sons aren't good against armour. They need Smite, so you need to take as much Smite as possible. That means Zangor Enlightened included in the list, Ahriman included in the list, Sorcerer included in the list. Oh yeah, the Sorcerer was part of my base thing as well. Exalted Sorcerer on disc, part of the list. 3 squads of Rubik Marines, all with sorcerers in them that could cast a baby smite on the list. So I had the smite angle covered. I was smiting like crazy, doing really well. Trouble is, I got first turn. Not always a good thing to get. So first turn, I managed to smite a few things, whittle down a few men. Right, used the range of my men to actually get, because remember you get plus 6 inch range to all spells by Thousand Sons army if it's BattleForged, so that works for me rather well. But I couldn't shoot much. I mean, I had me Vindicator, Hellbrute, Defiler, right, which were basically all just there, you know, minding their own business. Shooting at anything I considered to be a tank, but in reality they were a distraction. They weren't really there. I wasn't really expecting them to do very well, although they did do really well, which was a bonus. Oh yeah, the Mutilith Beast, I missed that. I crept that forward with a fast attack. The idea was trying to get that into the combat with the fast attack. Took some doing, but he did it. He ended up in combat with a Redemptor Dreadnought. Now he's not equipped to take out a Redemptor Dreadnought, but he does have a Warp Flare, I think it is, causes 1 mortal wound to all units around it, all enemy units around it. Very good, that is. So I used that. Then I spent a command point to do an extra reroll to try and buff up something, and I added +1 strength to my Zangors, and then completely forgot I did it. But anyway, the Mutilith Beast kept the kept the Redemptor Dreadnought in combat during the game. Stopped him shooting a bazillion shots at me all the time, like he did on turn 1, and caused quite a bit of damage. So he did a really good job. He also took it down, I think it's half the hit points down, in fact more than half. I surrounded it in the end with the Enlightened just to stop it running away. Because the thing about the Ultramarines is they could just turn around and sod off and then still shoot. And I've learned that the hard way over the years. You need to stop them getting out of combat. So I did by surrounding it with Enlightened, and then the Mutilith Beast. Now the Mutilith Beast is a bullet magnet. On its own, you don't really feel the Mutilith Beast because it's brilliant. It's not. It's okay to take out infantry, and it's got a few special powers that makes it really fun to use, which is a reason to take it on its own. But it's not going to do that well against a Redemptor Dreadnought. The Redemptor Dreadnought, on the other hand, is going to hit it on a 3+, and then wound it on a 2+, and cause D6 damage. So Redemptor Dreadnought could take out a knight in 1 turn if he's lucky. These guys, you know, well, maybe he'd take out a knight in 1 turn, but, you know, Mutilith Beast only 14 wounds, he might not survive 1 round of combat with him. So it was a risk. Fortunately, you know, it is a risk that paid off. When he did die, which was about turn 3 or turn 2, end of turn 2, it exploded, or rather it warp imploded, right, and caused 5 damage, which was just enough to wipe out the Redemptor Dreadnought as well. So my cheaper Mutilith Beast wiped out a much more expensive Redemptor Dreadnought, thus paying for itself, as well as causing mortal wounds for 2 turns in a row around it. So I got my points back. That unit was worth taking, even though it was actually taken as a bullet magnet, something that was designed to soak up fire so the rest of my troops stayed safe. That's a principle many people who are in the competitive scene don't seem to embrace, but sometimes you take a unit not because it's good, but because it's a threat that has to be killed, so your opponent must shoot it. Because while they're shooting at this threat, they're ignoring something else. And that's exactly as it worked. Now on the other side, the Hellbrute, I love taking Hellbrutes. You see, Hellbrute have one thing special going for them. If you wound them, you roll a d6, and if you get a 6, they shoot back at something. It's not specified what. Guess what got mad? Yes, my Hellbrute. This is why it's the only unit I have in my army where I think, please wound it, please wound it. Just 1 wound will do. And you know, he did wound it, my opponent, and it did get a 6, and it did shoot back, and then he shot back, it destroyed a speeder in return fire. He caused 2 damage to it, and I wiped out 1 of his units in return. So brilliant, you know. Hellbrutes, by the way, and Dreadnoughts are a very good staple in any army, because they can attack or they can defend, and if you can equip them in one way, you can specialise them to either melee or, you know, just shoot. But it's usually better to keep them a bit flexible. and then use them as a kind of way of combating any sneaky attacks by your opponent. So I kept this in my base, so if he turned up with assault troops, my dreadnought, oh sorry, Hellbrute could just walk up and just squash him all. Problem solved. But anyway, the Defiler, I had the Sorcerer next to him, casting Prescience and other things to give him a +1, you know, reroll. And the rerolls eventually had to stop because my men were advancing, but it made sure that that Defiler caused a lot of damage, wiping out multiple squads of Devastators, taking out a second speeder, damaging dreadnoughts, all kinds of stuff. It was a right nuisance. For a 4+ Defiler, that's quite good. Now the Chaos Space Marines can take Lord Discordant, but Thousand Sons can't. And if you read the rule for the Lord Discordant, you can't actually use it to buff a Thousand Sons Defiler either, because the rule is Legion Demon Engine, and the Thousand Sons aren't part of its Legion, so you can't do that. They've got no way of buffing them other than with the cards, the Daemon Forged cards and stuff like that. So you've got to use these, you've got to save a few command points back. The problem is, when you're doing that, you're going to run out of command points if you're not careful. The good thing is, Thousand Sons don't really use command points. You field enough Psychers with enough diverse powers, you're going to be using psychic powers, not command points. As a consequence, your command points can be used for interesting things like Webway Infiltration and keeping your Daemon Forged card in play all the time. You cast Prescience as well and stick a Ahriman nearby or whatever, and you've got something pretty good there then. And you know, it works. I mean, the Defiler itself is a useless unit in the default loadout. It's useless. You should either equip it purely for melee or purely for shooting. Don't go in between. Don't do in between. Now, if you want to go for the laser cannon route and you've got a Predator, right, but you didn't use a laser cannon, just chop the guns off and glue it on the end of the auto cannon thing, and you've got yourself a laser cannon on a Defiler. It's a simple conversion, really easy to do, and it gives you the firepower you need. Plus you have the Havoc launcher from the Predator as well, which you could slap on top. Defiler either march forward, or you know, into a melee mode, or you stand back and you shoot. Don't do anything, don't march forward shooting, just stand still and shoot, or charge forward and melee. So it depends on which way you configured it. But you do it right and support it, give it enough love and care, you'll be fine. Trouble is, the love and care is expensive, point wise and support wise, so you don't want to take more than one Defiler, because you just wouldn't have the points to make it worthwhile. And as soon as you start taking damage and start hitting on a 5+, they get harder and harder to hit. I think it's 5+ for them, honestly, I'm thinking the Vindicator. But anyhow, it's a good unit when you give it the right love and care and you give it the right equipment, but best take it just one at a time. But it's a fun unit to take and it'll always surprise you. Right? The twin laser cannon Hellbrute, which I took, it either hits and kills something or it misses and is useless for the game. It's a very 50-50 kind of model. You never quite know which way it's going to go because it's all down to dice rolls. But this game, it did quite well. It actually earned its points back. The Vindicator earned its points back on 10-1 and got so much damage that it didn't play much of a role the rest of the turn. But I had this Gargoyle card out, Warpflame Gargoyle card ready, and I was about to use it. I got it right in the middle of the troops, I was about to use it and my mate destroyed it before I could use it. But that was a good tip as well, you know, when you see a thing going out. Now, understand that not everything you field is fielded to be good. Some of it's fielded to attract shots. The Vindicator is one of them. Toughness 8 tank, very hard to get rid of. And if they don't get rid of it, you're going to get D6 strength 10 shots at your opponent. He can't ignore it, he has to destroy it. So he has to shoot at that in preference to other things. Now, if you shoot at a Rubik ring with normal bolt guns, then they're basically going to just shrug it off on a 2+. But if you shoot it with a laser cannon, they're going to die. So you don't want them shooting heavy weapons that do more than 1 damage at a Rubik Marine. So you need something for them to shoot at something else. And the Vindicator is it. So it's the Mutilith Beast. you know, and even the Defiler. Defiler will repair itself, so the Mutilate Beast. So these two here will auto repair and save you the job of worrying about it. I've actually had my Mutilate Beast get heavily wounded and repair itself quite considerably at one time. But that was, I think that was when I was running it with allies, Chaos Marine allies, pardon me. Now, fast attack, this is another element. I wanted to be able to just respond to threats, get around the board. So I had 6 Tzaangor Enlightened, with a Shaman there to boost them up, and a Sorcerer nearby on disc. And they were flying around, and they didn't do the job I wanted them to do, in the sense they didn't get behind the lines and make a mess. What they did do is they stopped the Redemptor dead in its tracks. Allowed the Mutilate Beast to get behind it, stop it dead that way. So it stopped this Redemptor Dreadnought, which is quite a good model. I mean, it's a smart model that the Ultramarines get, and quite deadly, but it stopped that from doing anything. So it worked in a sense, but there's a lot of points to sacrifice to stop one model. But that said, they didn't wipe them all out. They got to jump back, wipe out loads of tactical Marines and other things, you know, after the Mutilate Beast got in range and started to kill it off. And as a consequence, it did alright. But I didn't, in that game, target Dreadnoughts and tanks on the opponent's side, well, Dreadnoughts mainly. I was just targeting infantry because I knew Thousand Sons were weak at taking on tanks. And I knew if it was an objective game, which it was, because we just play a standard game a lot of the time, while we use open war cards, and you lay down 6 objectives, you take your standard 3 objectives, you know, and then you play the game. And that's what we were doing. So I was basically removing his ability to secure objectives for the game. So the Dreadnoughts, which I knew on their own wouldn't be much of a threat, you know, against a massive army of troops, but would against the tanks. I let them shoot at the tanks, and they caused quite a bit of damage on turn 1. But by turn 2, the casualty rate for the Smites had gotten quite far. They'd started to really take the toll. And the thing about psychic powers is, you can target a character with a psychic power. You see, it's you've got to have the psychic powers to do it, obviously. I mean, Smite, I think, is that Smite's the closest target, but there's other powers that aren't. And you could target characters, which it means you can snipe with psychic powers. As a consequence, you've got to get the right powers, but Thousand Sons can take between 1 and 3 different disciplines. And, you know, there's lots of options there. And they get all kinds of bonuses like +6 on all the ranges and everything, which makes it very, very good indeed. So there's all kinds of options. You just got to have a psyker amongst everything. And if you take Rubric Marines, which are a must-have for any Thousand Sons army, but in 5-man squads to keep the points down, then you're going to have at least 1 psyker anywhere on the board, because your Rubric Marines tend to spread out a little bit. The rest of the time it's Tzaangors, and you need Shamans for that. I've only got 1 Shaman, but I think I should get another one, because to be honest, they're quite handy. You know, zooming on the board, casting Smite, or some buffing troops, whichever. Might be weak, but they're cheap. They're also not characters, so they can be targeted, so you got to be careful about that. Anyway, it is the deep striking side of it. This is where it goes a bit different, because usually a deep strike is a blob of between 25 and 30 Tzaangors in, and they just spread out, engage in combat, and then consolidate into everything else. And when they do that, basically it's like a tsunami of blue Tzaangors just rolling over the enemy, and it works. It's why people recommend you do that, right? And to be honest, it's a good tactic. But I wanted to play something different this time, and I wanted to go down the Brigade route. So I separated mine into 3 squads at a time, and I dropped them roughly, you know, 1 at one side of the board, 1 the other, 1 in the middle. And as a consequence, they absorbed the fire on turn 1 and 2 of my opponent. They literally soaked up the fire. My cheapest unit soaks up the fire, leaving everything else intact. So on turn 1 and 2, I was like, smite, 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 smite. And on turn 3, I won the game. My opponent surrendered. He surrendered because I had him surrounded. Tzaangors on all sides, including a squad of Terminators, which he didn't have the right equipment to take out, and he knew it. because the first thing they did was they took out everything that could have killed them. So, you know, I denied his counter strikes of his, but he brought in his own men. He brought in some assault troops, some of those new guys, those Primaris Marines that have the two like short range heavy bolters, and they look like they're flying. I can't remember what they call it. He brought some of them in. So Mazangos charged them right away. They wiped out all of his assault marines. His assault marines attacked me, but the thing is, I'd given them, I think it's Glamour of Tzeentch, is it? That gives a +1 on the invulnerable for Zangos. Anyway, and I used that, and I lost half of them. But whereas the assault marines get a +1 attack on the first round of combat because of the new rules, the Zangos get their attacks all the time. So basically I wiped them out, and I played the card that lets them attack again, which is the Cycle of Slaughter, you know, stratagem. And they wiped them out and consolidated forward, taking towards the guys with the shooty guns, you know, the short range heavy bolters along the flyer, the new models, can't remember what they call them. But they did really well. Zangos haven't really lost their punch at all because nothing's changed for them. And the punch that the assault troops got did make them scratch the paint. Something they haven't previously done. In previous games of Zangos versus Assault Marines might get 1 or 2, and that's it, and the Zangos will just munch through them. This time they wiped out half the Zangos, so the Assault Marines become much more effective. However, remember, your Rubik Marines get the same +1 attack as well on the first turn. It's only the heroic intervention thing makes it a bit difficult to explain, so they explain the rule the way they do. But basically, the way the rule reads is, first round of combat, if you're a Space Marine or a Chaos Space Marine, you're getting a +1 on your attack, and you get a +1 if you heroically intervene as well. That's the new rule, so you know it's quite good. The Space Marine did need that. I think Space Marine bolt guns also needed a -1 on the AP as well, but you can't have everything. Anyway, that was the fast attack, and that was the Alpha Strike. Back at the baseline, once I'd basically annihilated everything that I could see from the back board, because my base in my deployment zone was the shooty bit, they wiped out anything they could see fairly quickly. By turn 2 there was nothing left. They were literally just sat there, so I started to advance them. I got one squad of Rubik Marines into the centre of the board on an objective straight away. And that was the one that the Ahriman had to secure for 2 turns. Says, you know, because my plan was to leave him at the back, but I couldn't do that and get this objective because none of my objective cards were giving out points on turn 1, and they were lucky if they dish out points on turn 2. So it would look like I was going to lose the game purely because the cards weren't playing right for me. But my opponent's card didn't play right for him either. So when I got to the point where my Rubik Marines had got onto my AdMech platforms, and I got Ahriman up there as well, I was actually able to defend it thanks to a couple of spawn and other things taking the fire from the opponent. Because again, some units are taken for their ability to absorb fire, but they have to be a threat as well. And my mate knows these Chaos Spawn are a real threat. I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but they are a real threat. In fact, should we look at the stats? The Chaos Spawn, they have a D6 attack, which is not brilliant because I actually rolled 1, so they only got 1 attack when I was doing it. But the thing is, I then got the Grasping Pseudopods, which is a +2 attack, so they went up to 3 attacks. But these are Strength 5, Toughness 5, you know, so they get 4 wounds, so a normal weapon will be wounding on a 5. Which is why I use these, because he's got 4 wounds, remember. It says I use these to charge Overwatch first. So, because they're more likely to survive. And I charge these big guys, you know, with the short range heavy bolters that fly, the new Primaris models, that, I can't remember what they call them. They've got the new fancy suits of armour. But anyway, I charged them. They took the Overwatch, didn't even harm them. Well, sorry, they killed 1 off. Right, he had 1 wound. The other one got into combat unharmed. Then he just walked in the Zangos. That is the correct way to use Chaos Spawn, in my opinion. the the Chaos Spawn then went on to kill one of them. So they got their points back straight away because they're really quite cheap, these guys. And then I walked in the Zangors. The Zangors themselves did the rest of the work. You know, they literally laid waste to everything, like they always do. Now, because Smite and stuff can be cast into combat, I was able to just take pot shots from Ahriman and the Sorcerer on the Admech buildings and just weaken them and finish them off. So it worked out quite well for me in the end. But that list there, remember, came as a three-pronged attack. You know, basically a castle at the back. Not a very good castle, but it works because it works on the basis of Rubric Marines being hard to kill by normal weapons, and nobody really wants to fire a laser cannon at a trooper. So unless they do, then Rubric Marines are going to survive. It says, and then it had the fast attack element, which could be used to intercept anything the enemy did, you know, that was doing quite well, and just stop it dead. And that worked. And then the Alpha Strike element that came down in the middle of the game, well, on turn 2, and did its thing, you see. It basically managed to assault the back line. I mean, one of my objectives was kill a character and Kingslayer as well. So when I killed his commander, I got two objectives. When Ahriman got his card, he not only got the point for defending the objective, he got 3 points for fulfilling his special orders or whatever they call it as well. So I went from on turn 3 from pretty much no points to about 9, won the game in the end. So it worked out quite well, but it was fun because of all the vast elements that was included in it, all the different things I could do. You could stop the Alpha Strike but I'd still have the fast attack. You could stop the fast attack but I'd still have the base shooting at him. Either way, it was a tough nut to crack. It put the pressure on him while defending my base. A lot of people who play, they don't appreciate that some units might be not as effective as others, but they're bloody good bullet magnets. Anything with a toughness 7 can absorb a lot of fire, and if it heals itself every turn like a Defiler or a Mutilith Beast does, then it's a good bullet magnet. You need a good save as well, that's preferable, but you know, if you've got an invulnerable save and you can stick I think it's Glamorous Each or something on it, or Weaver of Fates, whatever it is, it says then you can knock it, you can buff it up. It works really, really well. It says sometimes it's worth taking units that are fun but not that effective, just to soak up the fire so the units are effective, safe. But to be honest though, and I'll finish up with this point, if you're looking for a good army list, something that's fun, the units that aren't that effective, the Chaos Spawn, the Mutilith Beasts, the Defilers, they're the units you're going to enjoy using the most. Because whilst they're a bit hit and miss, when they do hit, it's really fun. So you shouldn't dismiss a unit because it's crap. I will also add, right, that whilst you're playing 40k, it's cheaper to build a competitive army list than it is to build a fun list, because a fun list requires options, and I change my army every single game. I never play the same list twice. So if I was playing if I was playing a competitive list, I'd basically build an army with one purpose, and if anybody learned to defeat that army, they'd always defeat it. But if someone learned to defeat one of my army lists, they wouldn't necessarily beat the next one, because the next one would be different. And that can only be done because I got various elements and put them in my collection. And when I came back to play it, I went, I'll have that this time, I'll have that this time, I'll have that this time. And then I'd give it a try. Depends on my mood. I do that with every single one of my army lists. For instance, if you look at the Admech list, they've got that new tank, I can't remember what they call it now. Very, very good at firing indirectly, you know, units you can't see. Something that Admech doesn't have the ability to do. I didn't have the ability to before then. So when you want to fire at units you can't see, you bring in the tank. Without the tank you don't get the option. But in the game, the tank is like a jump crawler. You know, in the role it fulfills, it's pretty much the same kind of thing. But now instead of just being limited to 3 jump crawlers, you get 3 jump crawlers and 3 tanks as well. So you can double up on the firepower. So basically what I'm saying is, the options to take more troops, or more this, more of that, or just mix things up, is what keeps the game exciting for fun players. And whilst your initial army list, when you're building it up, might seem a bit dull and boring, keep up, and every now and again just buy something that looks like it's going to be fun and stick it in your list. You might not use it very often, but when you do, you'll be glad you did. Right, that's it. I'll put the army list up again around here so you can see it. Right, remember this was a three-pronged list: defense, fast attack, alpha strike. That's what it was designed to do. And the big heavy stuff that I took, look at the points. Vindicators, cheap. Mutila Vortex Piece, cheap. Hellbrutes, cheap. Compared to some of the stuff my opponent was taking, I got a bargain. And they were my bullet magnets. They sucked up the attack and kept everything else safe. And they worked that way. They did their job. And for 120 points tops, or 25, it was worth it. But you remember that. And I'll see you in the next one.